Have you ever done this, or have you ever seen people doing this in the gym when they're trying to stretch their hamstring? Now this is actually a pretty awful stretch for the hamstring and isn't really targeting that area. We're going to get into why this isn't the best way, what it's actually stretching, and then what is actually the best stretches for the hamstring to do. So first off, if we look at the anatomy of the hamstring, it's actually three muscles. All three of them attach in the bum cheek, which is around the ischial tuberosity, and they come down and cross the knee at different areas. So we've got the bicep femoris, which attaches at the fibular head. We've got the semimembranosus, which attaches at the medial tibial condyle, and then the semitendinosus that attaches at the pes and serinus. So with the hamstring coming from the bum to below the knee, why is it that people are pulling on their ankle to increase that stretch? It actually has no attachment in that area, so pulling on the ankle is not going to affect the stretching of the hamstring. So what's going on? Because if you do pull at the ankle, then you will feel more of a stretch around the hamstring and the back of the knee. What you're actually feeling here is a stretch on the sciatic nerve instead. So the sciatic nerve actually comes from the lower back, all the way down the leg and into the foot. So the pull on that foot actually increases the stretch of this nerve. And if looking at the nervous system as a whole, it actually starts from the brain. It goes all the way down the spine, out into the sciatic nerve, down the leg to the foot. So when in this stretch position with the head down, not only are we increasing the stretch at the ankle, but you're also increasing the stretch at the head as well. And if you are doing it like this and increasing the stretch of the sciatic nerve at both ends, then you're going to have to ease off somewhere. And normally that comes from backing the body off a little bit, which then reduces the actual stretch that you get on the hamstring, which is why it makes it a much less effective stretch for the hamstring itself. But it might actually be that the tightness that you're feeling, where you're thinking you need to stretch the hamstring, is actually coming from the sciatic nerve. So it might be that you do actually need to stretch the sciatic nerve itself. But again, this kind of position is not the best way to stretch that nerve. And we'll show you a better stretch to do for the nerve before the end of the video. But first, what is actually the best way to stretch the hamstring? We need to go back and look at the anatomy of the hamstring. So if it's coming from the bum down towards the knee, then really we need to focus it on those areas. And really some of the best ways to stretch the hamstring is actually under load. Completing something like the RDL is going to be one of the best ways to actually get the stretch into the hamstring. And you can adjust this depending on what your range is like. So if your range is quite poor with the hamstring, then you can do it onto blocks. If it's actually reasonably good, then you can do it to the floor. And if it's really good, then you can stand on a block and it's almost as though you're going past the floor with the movement. If you do have this much flexibility though, the hamstring's probably not an issue for you. What you'd actually be better off doing is just increasing the load that you're using when going to the floor. If you're not using weights, then it's really about adopting a similar position. Sticking the bum right out to get the stretch on that end, and then actually having a bent knee so that you're not involving the sciatic nerve so much, and then working to almost straighten that knee to increase the stretch. But while doing this, keeping your ankle out of it. This will be a much better stretch to focus on the hamstring without getting the sciatic nerve involved. And with the foot, just keep it on the floor. Don't start lifting the toes up. So if you're doing that stretch and actually feels pretty easy and it's not pulling, it's probably not your hamstring that's the issue. And it's probably what you were feeling was actually the sciatic nerve. But again, doing that other stretch isn't the best for the sciatic nerve. It's a real tensioner and quite harsh on the nerve itself. What you'd be actually better off doing is almost gliding the nerve or flossing it through the system. So you can still be in that kind of position, but you're either taking the ankle or the head on and off. So if going from the ankle, you would pull the ankle back and then relax it back off. Or if tighten it from the head end, you're dropping the head down and then lifting it up. So it's doing either one or the other, or gliding through both. Actually pointing the toes away from you will still tension that sciatic nerve, just a different branch of it. So keeping the foot in neutral but will be the way to take it off at that end. And then what you can do is glide from one, so bringing the ankle back while the head comes up, and then releasing off the ankle as the head comes down and going back and forth through that movement. Doing a floss like this through the whole system is usually a bit nicer than just that pure tension. It's basically like a dynamic stretch instead of a static. Just have a play about with it and see what feels good for you. And if you're wanting more videos all around musculoskeletal advice, exercises, rehab ideas, latest research and tips like this video, then please support the channel and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.